Hey guys, why don't we start with a quick game of Would You Rather? Tony, how about we start with you?
Would you rather eat nothing but plain yogurt for the rest of your life or suck off your dad?
Okay, let's not play that game. Amazon's latest drama, The Wilds, lovingly referred to as Teen Lost, sees 8 young women from completely different backgrounds come together to survive stranded on an island. But with mysterious events, secret operatives, and even shark attacks, things aren't what they seem. In this video, we'll be going over Season 1, uncovering some of its biggest mysteries like where is Nora, what is the Twilight of Adam, and theories on what to expect for Season 2, so you'll want to stick around for that.
Agreed.
So make sure your tray table's up and seats in the full upright position. Oh yeah, you'll probably want to click like and subscribe too, because here we go. Welcome to Gynotopia. Don't ask me, I did not come up with that name. The world's first all-female led community.
At the end of 12 weeks, we will have seen Gynotopia in action.
Or at least that's what the head of the Dawn of Eve, Gretchen Klein, says while practicing one of her speeches. Throughout the course of the season, we learn that these 8 women stranded on the island are here for one big social experiment, one which seeks to prove that women, when faced with adversity, hardship, and conflict, will work together to solve their problems rather than men who would resort to violence.
To hell with male domination that has turned this planet into a war-torn, money-hungry fireball.
She wants to prove scientifically that women are superior leaders who will work towards diplomacy and mutual cooperation rather than lashing out with violence. For her, the biggest evil in the world is the patriarchy, a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. But why all this hatred for men? What would spur a woman to create one of the most elaborate, expensive, and illegal experiments of all time? In the final episode, we learn Gretchen had a son named Devin. We never get to see Devin, but we learn he was responsible for the murder of Nora's boyfriend, Quinn, in a hazing incident gone wrong. Gretchen believes her son was manipulated by toxic masculinity.
Theta fucking Kappa Theta and their toxic male bullshit.
She tried to raise her son right, taught him about consent, read him poems, and attended women's marches, but the power of the patriarchy was too strong.
I'm not saying he isn't to blame, but the patriarchy and its institutions sure aren't innocent.
So part of Gretchen's reason to make this project is for her to feel some sort of redemption for raising a violent son, so that this violence caused by toxic men can end once and for all. But Gretchen's methods aren't exactly legal. She has to lure a group of teenage girls by promising them, and their parents who would not be attending, a retreat in Hawaii that is supposed to foster women empowerment. It's all an elaborate ruse as she fakes a plane crash to get these girls on an island and force them to work together, throwing them increasingly difficult milestones to challenge them and build a sense of community.
But at some point, it just sort of clicked. It wasn't like we were friends or anything, but for the first time we were in us.
But Gretchen can't do it all on her own. Within the group are 2 plants, or operatives, that will help guide the experiment. The first is Jeanette. Well, that's her fake name. Her real name is Lynn Bach, a university student hired by Gretchen who shares her sentiments about toxic masculinity. Jeanette was drugged and assaulted by men at a party one night. That's why when she sees Leah passed out the day the girls are being shipped off to the island, she gets triggered, briefly having second thoughts about going through with the experiment. Gretchen sees something in Jeanette. The two share a close bond and almost have a mother-daughter dynamic. Perhaps Jeanette fills the void her son in prison has now left. That's why when Jeanette dies in episode 1, it hits her especially hard. She voluntarily puts herself in a psych ward and we see her imagine the light flickering. She also has a constant itch, which is never fully explained, but could be caused by constant stress. We do know she has stress issues, as the beginning of one episode she visits a spa only to scream at the top of her lungs. With Jeanette gone, Gretchen decides to keep going ahead with the experiment as they have a second failsafe operative. It isn't until episode 9 that we find out this person is Nora. Nora, like Gretchen, is motivated to see a world where toxic masculinity doesn't exist, and there's 2 reasons for this. 1, her boyfriend Quinn was killed in a fraternity hazing ritual gone wrong, and 2, she's had to deal with her sister's eating disorder, a result of societal pressure for her to look a certain way. Each episode of the season focuses on the backstory of a specific character, relating their story story to an event that's happening on the island. The final episode focuses on Nora, and we see what led her to become this operative and how she helped sway the events on the island. For example, she was responsible for planting the bag of medication which Shelby would eventually find. In episode 9, Aaliyah, in a stupor from alcohol and edibles, finds Nora talking to headquarters via one of the island's many hidden cameras. This starts the events that will eventually lead to this season's cliffhanger. With Leah's discovery that Nora is working for some organization that is watching them, Nora ends up trapping Leah, seeing as she could jeopardize the whole experiment. We'll find out later this goes terribly wrong. Meanwhile, Shelby and Tony wake up after having spent the night together. Shelby has been coming to terms with her own sexuality this season, coming from a strict Christian household which condemns homosexual behavior. She has been forced to choose between being her authentic self and the person her family wants her to be. Nora hints at this in episode 4 when Shelby recites her favorite monologue from Death of a Salesman, a monologue that now means so much more.
He's telling his father that he doesn't want to live for him anymore, that he wants his own authentic life.
It's also interesting to see Shelby picking fruit considering all the religious symbolism here. The dawn of Eve, the twilight of Adam, Adam and Eve, Shelby picking the forbidden fruit just like her feelings towards other women are forbidden. Tony herself has also had to open up. In her backstory, we see how she was rejected by her love and because of that prefers to be alone so she can never get hurt again.
Yeah, when you're by yourself, you can only hurt yourself. I'd call that safer.
Martha has also changed throughout the season. Her story is the perfect example of how what's happening on the island reflects her life back home. On the island, Martha is the protector of animals and doesn't want to go through with killing the goat even though they need it for food. In other words, she's protecting something that, if killed, would be better for the greater good. This is reflected in her protection of Dr. Ted, a man who abused her and many other girls as a child. When asked to testify against him in court, she ultimately ends up protecting them, even though he hurt so many young women. Martha killing the goat is her finding her inner strength to do what is right. This strength is symbolized as we see her wearing her jingle outfit, the one she ended up leaving the day of her competition when she couldn't muster the courage to go through with it. These stories are told side by side with FBI interviews that are conducted 2 or 3 days after the girls are picked up from the island, or at least that's what they're told by these FBI guys that probably aren't FBI at all. It was Gretchen, after all, who hired them. When Leah asks Agent Daniel Faber where her parents are, he makes the excuse that they're currently en route and the delay is the result of proper visas needing to be acquired. As far as we know, the parents haven't been notified at all. In the final episode, we learn the girls are being held 800 miles off the coast of Peru and 150 miles from the island that they were stranded on, or at least that's what we're told. The girls are kept separate from one another so the investigators can get all their stories straight, but it isn't until Shelby demands she be taken to see Leah that things start to ramp up. At the end of episode 8, we see her slip Leah a note that says, "You were right." This is referring to her being right about an organization watching over them and that one of them could be an operative. Leah plans her escape by using a piece of napkin given to her by Agent Dean Young and stuffing it within the locking mechanism. That night, Shelby experiences anaphylactic shock. We know that she's allergic to shellfish, so either A, she's faking this, or B, someone slipped her something to create a diversion. I have a theory that Agent Dean Young could be helping with this escape. He was the one who gave Leah the napkin, he would have had access to Shelby, and he also has motive for these girls getting out. He makes it known to Leah that he has his own daughter that he's being kept away from because of Gretchen. He knows the pain of being separated from a child. He even tells Leah her time there won't be long.
But it won't last much longer. Look, hand to God, it won't.
Another theory is that this is still part of the experiment. It's still going on, but how that fits into Gretchen's overall plan is yet to be seen. We also don't know if there are more operatives. At the end of episode 3, we see Gretchen recruiting Dot. Her father even mentions briefly that he once knew Gretchen. That's how he found out about this retreat. Very odd that this story thread is never picked up on for the rest of the season. Then there's what happened to Nora. It's highly implied that Nora died after trying to save her sister from the shark attack, a shark attack which resulted in Rachel losing her hand. Nora is the only girl, besides Jeanette, who is not interviewed, and Rachel says 2 interesting things about Nora while being interviewed. 1, she asks if her parents knew what happened to Nora, r.e. her being dead, and 2,
You know what I feel? It's her hand. Holding mine.
The writers are wanting us to believe she's dead, but knowing how this show has many twists and turns, nothing can be ruled out. One of the biggest mysteries season 1 leaves us with is what happens between the shark attack and their extraction from the island. We never actually see Leah expose Nora for being an operative, and the girls are separated as soon as they leave, so it's entirely possible that none of the girls know about Nora's involvement in their captivity. Then there's this question of Phase 2. When Gretchen is asked what to do about Leah being held in that pit, she's also told that the rollout for quote Phase 2 has absorbed all available watercraft, and it won't be until another 3 hours that they can deal with Leah. She also says this.
Are you on your way up top?
Yes, supervision is my watchword this time round. That's how we avoid any predicaments.
This hints that Gretchen likely has more than one island she's overseeing. The first island with the girls we've seen this season was a failure, hence why she's more hands-on with this other one, and it could also explain why she went to that rich donor to beg for more money. So Phase 2 could actually mean 3 things. 1, a new island with new girls. 2, what the girls are currently going through during these interviews. Or 3, the Twilight of Adam. During Leah's escape, she uncovers a security room with cameras focused on a control group called the Twilight of Adam. It's basically an experiment just like the girls went through, but with boys. It's important to note this is called a control group, as control groups are used in science to compare it to other findings. Gretchen is trying to show that this group of young boys will devolve into violence, kind of like in Lord of the Flies, while a group of women faced with the same exact hardships will work together and build a community.
In contrast, we expect our subjects to discover a peaceful, female-driven model of governance.
There are still a lot of questions here, like if these are simply recordings and this control group has already happened, or if these are live feeds. I think going forward it will be interesting to see how much Gretchen interferes with the experiments to give her the results she wants. She seems pretty damn fanatical at proving her point, just how far will she take it? I want to hear your thoughts and theories about this season and the next in the comments below. Thanks for watching everyone, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and for more bad takes you can always follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember, Daddy loves you very much.